Hank, let's begin with your name. Where and when were you born?
Henry J. Pelak, born in Grand Rapids, Michigan on July 24th, 1924.
And what was your early schooling like here in Michigan?
Grade school at Sacred Heart, where the nuns made you really turn into a good person in a hurry because they taught you discipline, which was probably one of the greatest things that you should learn in life. The earlier the better. And then after grade school at Sacred Heart, well, then I went to Union High School, graduated from Union High School in 1942.
And what were your options at that time? What were you planning to do after high school?
My first love probably was working with machines, working with my hands. And in high school I took machine shop, things that I really enjoyed. So for me to be happy in my life, I thought, gee, if I could just get to be a machinist or something in that line, that would be great. I used to peddle papers by Gallmeyer Livingston on Wealthy Street. And I used to, after my route was over, I'd hang on the windows and just kind of watch these machinists. And I thought that was the greatest thing in the world to be able to do that.
Wow. So what happened when you got out of high school, though?
It wasn't too long after that. I did go to work for a while in those days where, you know, things were really rough, and to try to make a few nickels or something. So I worked washing A&P trucks for 40 cents an hour. Wow. Of course, when I came home, my dad wasn't too happy because you'd smell from gasoline and everything that's associated with clean and dirty trucks. But I did make a few dollars there to be able to buy a used bicycle, which I thought was the greatest thing that I could do, you know.
This is, you're about, what, 17 years old, 18 maybe?
18, yeah,
okay.
17, 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happened next? There was a pretty big event that happened soon after that.
Joining the...
Yeah, well, you've heard about Pearl Harbor, I take it.
Well, yeah, heard about Pearl Harbor.
How did you hear about it?
On the news, yeah. I just picked it up on the news, which was a terrible thing to have happened. Yeah. But it changed everybody's life, that's for sure. So,
how did you react to it?
Sad, probably sad more than anything, because of what was ahead of us was going to be a real test of a lot of things for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So.
In your case, were you drafted or did you enlist?
No, I was drafted, and my best friend in high school, Joel Packey, he and I managed to get together and get in the Navy together in the same amphibious forces. So we stayed together for a while during training, but then after that we were separated, and he was put into the transport part of it, the larger ships, and I was put into the smaller invasion barges. Okay,
I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah.
When you were drafted, I assume you just got, it was a letter in the mail, a telegram. How did you find out?
Yeah, just.
And you were asked to report where?
I don't remember exactly where it was, but in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
And
now, did you have a choice between the branches?
Yes, I had a choice. Yeah.
Why Navy?
That's a good question. No special preference. They just thought that water, I like water, you know.
Okay.
Everything about water. And it didn't bother me to think about being on a ship or whatever it took as far as water was concerned.
Where did you go from there? Where did you start to train?
I went to Wisconsin, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Took my training there.
Now this is for basic training?
Basic training, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you go by train?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
Now, were these guys that you were traveling with, were they all draftees from the Grand Rapids area, or was it a mixture of
No,
different
I think it was a
people?
mixture, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, let me get an idea. You're 18 years old. You arrive at the base now for basic. What am I seeing? The barracks, are the people marching around. Was this a small place or was this a big place?
The big place, yeah. And they gave us some assignments that, so you knew right away, you know, you're in the service and what was expected of you. For me, it was probably easier than for a lot of other young men, because they had something going for them that I didn't have, because they had, my mother died when I was 10 years old, so between 10 and 18, I was kind of on my own, and thankful to have probably the greatest father that you could possibly have, as far as, you know, doing the right thing by all of his children. So when I went into Green Bay, I was on my own for almost eight years.
Yeah.
So there was no problem for me adjusting to
Sure.
whatever I had to do, because I was more or less trained already, you know,
Yeah.
discipline and
Yeah.
things to look after yourself. Yeah.
Now, you arrived there in civilian clothes,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Were you then immediately processed and given uniforms and all that kind of thing?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, of course, they had a tailor there, right? And he was measuring your shirts to make sure everything fit exactly
Well,
right?
no, not exactly, you know, but whatever they gave you, I was thankful for, you
Yeah.
know, coming from, you know, going through the Depression, and then I thought, hey, this is great.
Okay. Give me an idea of what right in the basic time, not later on, the
Yeah.
basic training time, what was a typical day like? You got up at 10 o'clock in the morning, had some coffee?
No, you get up at a certain time, yeah, make sure everything was neat, your bed made,
Okay.
and your orders or your duties that you had to perform.
Okay. And so you'd fall out in front of the
Yeah,
barracks?
a lot of
Okay.
marching.
Marching,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
During this training, was there anything specific to the Navy, or was it just calisthenics, getting you stronger?
Yeah, just more
Okay.
or less that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Were there any tests that you had to take, classroom-type tests?
I don't recall too much about
Okay.
taking tests.
Okay.
Just
So I assume then that there was, at some point, a graduation.
mm-hmm.
Was it a formal graduation?
Yeah, kind of a formal graduation.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once you graduated from boot camp, where did you go next?
I went to Virginia. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where I started my first training with the small boats.
Now, why were you chosen to go into small boats, or did you have a choice?
No, there was no choice. My high school friend, they put him in. I wanted to
Right.
stay with him,
Sure,
but that's
sure.
not possible. It's
Yeah.
nice. You got your
Sure.
best friend with you,
Sure.
but it just it doesn't work that way in the service.
So for some reason, then they assigned you to be part of this amphibious group.
forces.
Okay. So
Mhm.
what was the training for that like?
Not so much there in Virginia, where the real training started was in Fort Pierce, Florida, because
Okay.
there you had the ocean and
Mm-hmm.
and kind of things that you might face later,
Mm-hmm.
because so we trained at Fort Pierce, Florida for quite a few months. But then the first thing you find out there in that kind of training is if you're on a single engine boat and you hit that beach, if you don't hit that beach dead square, why you're gonna be flipped right over sideways. So that was the first thing that registered with me. I thought, this is tricky business.
Let's look at Florida. Was it a base, barracks, formal kind of military installation?
Yeah, kind of a barracks.
And so were you in what was the barracks like? Did you have like bunk beds?
Bunk
or-
beds,
Okay.
mhm.
Approximately how many people to a barracks?
Oh, gee, there was maybe 40 to 50
Okay.
or so, yeah.
All right. What was your daily routine there like? Get up in the morning, maybe 6 o'clock in the morning or something?
Yes.
Fall out. What did you do during the day?
Oh, you're exercising as far as your calisthenics and things that keep you in shape. They kept you busy. They kept you busy.
Then chow line.
The chow line, yeah.
How
yeah.
was the food?
I thought it was great. But, because, like I say, going to your past, where you're home and your dad is working and you're fixing your own meals. Hey, for me, I thought it was great, wonderful for me. Yeah.
Well, I've often heard too that the Navy had the best food.
It's good.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
All the years I put in there, why, I can't complain about the Navy at all.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Now, I realize that during this period of training, some days are different than others, but in effect, once you went through the calisthenics, you went through the chow line and all that, did you then just go to start working on the boats? Actually learning how to drive them?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Because I was a motor machinist, so my job was tending to the engines. Yeah.
Well, let's get into that. So actually, for some reason, they must have either known from your background that you had some experience in machinery, that they put you in there? Is that your...
Yeah, yes. And I requested it. And,
oh, okay.
And the fact that I was working with my hands and engines and machines, so if I had to, I could if I had the machinery, make whatever we needed. So, and it's something I really enjoyed. For me, I mean, it was.
It's certainly better than washing trucks, right?
Right. Yeah. Better than washing trucks. Yeah. Yeah.
So, what was your? Once again, this may seem like a stupid question, but what was your specific job during that period of time? What were you supposed to be doing?
Number one, the engines.
Okay.
And make sure that they were taken care of and everything was proper. And
would you work in a team, or were you working by yourself?
At times as a team.
Okay.
But other times, by yourself. Yeah.
So, what was this landing craft? What is the name of it, and what was it supposed to do?
This is what they call an LCM. It's a landing craft, mechanized, but it's actually built to carry a tank. The purpose of building it was actually to carry a tank. So,
what did it look like?
Oh, you could tell it because the ramp on it had the extension in the front of it. So as soon as you see it, the silhouette was such that you couldn't hardly mistake it from the other landing craft that carried the infantry.
And the famous one, or maybe infamous, was the Higgins boat.
Higgins
right,
boat.
was one of them. Now, when this craft was in the water and it was heading towards the shore, what was I'm just going to sound very stupid, but please, what was its purpose? What were you supposed to do with this thing?
Mainly number one is to hit that beach dead square.
So you're actually trying to hit right onto the beach itself.
Right.
And then what would happen?
Then the fellow that was the coxswain that handled the boat, he had to rev up the engines, one or the other, to be sure that stayed square to the beach. So.
Yeah, give me an idea of what was the crew. How many people were actually manning this?
There was probably in Fort Pierce, Florida, there was 3, 4, but eventually ended up for the big war. Well, it ended up with 5.
Okay. So identify those 5 for us.
Yeah, there was one was like a signalman, and 2 other just seamen. And the coxswain.
What is a coxswain?
Yeah, he's the one that's in charge of the boat. He's
like the captain of a
like
regular
the captain,
ship?
Right, yeah. Like the
now, is he driving this thing?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
All right, so he's piloting it in. The 2 seamen are there for what?
Well, just general things that have to be done to take care of the boat. Yeah.
Okay.
The signalman, in case you need him. Yeah.
And that's to signal to the ship.
Yeah, right.
Communications back and forth.
Yeah,
was that done with flags?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And then the motor machinist,
which was you.
Which was I. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I know this is a really tough question because we're talking about an 18-year-old kid 50-plus years ago. Did you have any inkling during this training of the kind of danger that you're about to get into?
No, not really. Not really. Probably not until later.
Right. I mean, you knew you were preparing for war.
Oh, sure.
And for battle.
Yes, yes.
Did you have any idea where you might go? Because there's the European theater and there's the
Pacific theater.
Did you have any idea at that time?
No, no,
Yeah.
no. Had kind of an idea of maybe where we might be going because we ended up in New York. They shipped us off to New York.
Okay.
So that kind of told you that you were probably heading for the European theater.
Did you arrive in New York City?
New York City, yeah.
What was that like?
Well, coming from Grand Rapids, New York City and what you know about New York City, I mean, that was really an eye-opener, for a young lad that was, from Grand Rapids. Why that was something that that you'll never forget. That was an eye-opener. Yeah.
Did you arrive in New York Harbor? Statue of Liberty?
Yes,
the whole bit?
yes.
See, that's such a moving moment when you see the Statue of Liberty there, no matter where you are in the country.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So what were you supposed to do there in New York? Your further training?
No, not so much training, just more or less waiting for orders to be shipped over to England or to Scotland, and from Scotland over to England.
Did you have any kind of liberty leave in New York to be able to go into the city?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a group of you guys, you're in Navy uniforms.
Oh, sure, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Were there soldiers everywhere? Was the population just a lot of military people?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
A lot of military people. Navy, Army, Marines. Oh, yes.
See, I can just picture this hustling, bustling New York City.
Right.
And when I was there, of course, it's all civilians running around. And I'm just picturing now Navy uniforms, Army uniforms, Air Corps, just mixing up, going into places, movie bars, whatever it is.
You bet.
Was there were you hanging out with a group of people by this time? Would you have a group that you...
Yes, yes.
Give us an idea of what was the kind of conversations you were having. I mean, you obviously were going to go somewhere pretty soon.
Right, yeah.
What were you guys talking about?
A lot of it probably personal things with family and things like that. But mostly, at that time, still kind of carefree, like if you go out with your friends, maybe you're out hunting or something, it's really a fun time, even though something's ahead of you.
Sure.
But at the time, you kind of enjoy the fact that you're there and you're with friends. And
see, I think it's been a common thread with a lot of the veterans that I talk to, because I'm sitting back as a historian thinking, well, you guys must be thinking about going into battle and all this, but
no,
it's not that way at all.
No. It was normal. Like you're out with your friends and just enjoying things that the sights. New York. I mean, there's a lot to see and a lot to enjoy.
Now, when you got orders then eventually that you're going to be going somewhere. So where are you going, and how are you going to get there?
Yeah.
From New York, where'd you go?
To Scotland. We landed in Scotland first.
Was this on a troop ship?
Yes, on a troop ship. And there
lots of people on it.
Lots of troops, lots of soldiers, sailors and soldiers, and it was a rough ride. It was a large ship, but the seas were rough. It was rough.
Now,
a lot of them got really sick.
I was just going to ask you that. Yeah.
Oh man.
The stories I've heard about the trip over.
Oh, yeah. A lot of them really got sick.
Well, you were okay though, huh?
I managed okay, yeah. I can't remember, really being ill or upset or anything. It went good for me.
Did you travel in a zigzag pattern?
Did.
Okay, because of the submarines and all
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's still no real sense of danger yet, right?
No.
So you arrive in Scotland, and where did you go from Scotland?
They shipped us down to Teignmouth, England. Which was our main training base.
Okay.
By that time, then we had our crews set up. There was five to each boat. So then that's where we started our serious training.
Now, Hank, give me an idea of the scope of this. I mean, I'm picturing right now you and your 5-man crew, and what's around us? I mean, you got other people training at the same time? Was this huge operation, or just...
No, this was just more or less almost like we were a separate unit, and we were kept separate from the rest of them, and it was just more or less, I guess they were setting up for the operation that was ahead of us, and we just had our own little outfit there, and then of course later we found out that it looked like that was going to be the first wave
Yeah.
in the invasion of Normandy.
Right. So during this period of time, what was a typical day like? You got up in the morning.
Yeah, similar to Fort Pierce, Florida,
Okay.
you know, with all your training and the fitness exercises
Sure.
and time out for a good lunch, you know. And
So you were training to be as accurate as possible in getting this craft, this five-man crew's job is to get this craft in the right position, get the whoever's going to be out, and then get back and come back again. So it's over and over again. You're just doing this just to get it right.
right.
Just to get it right.
That's
Okay.
exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
I'm picturing it now.
Yeah.
Was there any R&R time, Liberty time in England?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we had.
Well, what was that like? I mean, this is the first time you've ever been in a foreign country. I mean, it was England.
Yes. Yeah.
But did you guys go into town? Was
We
there-
went into town.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course, everybody treated you just great. You know, wonderful people.
So they welcomed the Yanks.
Yes, they did.
Yeah?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there any evidence at this? I know that in England, it was London, of course, was being bombed, and there's the war going on. But where you were, was there any evidence of war? Okay.
No. But I did get to London. You know.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, they gave us leave, so I did get a chance to see London for a little while.
What was that
which was
experience like?
kind of a break. Well, it's kind of like New York, you know, a great big busy place,
Yeah.
and a lot of nice people, and there that you weren't thinking of danger or anything.
But wasn't there any evidence of the bombing of Britain?
Not at that time.
Not
no.
for you,
I think
okay.
it's.
Oh, wow, okay. So finally the training is over with. The orders come in for what? What were you supposed to do next?
Yeah. Well, first they set us up to have a training exercise, which was the Operation Tiger. So this was like the 28th of April, and we set out. This was at night, so you couldn't really see too much. But we were heading for the area where the transport ships and the soldiers and everybody were waiting to set up this training exercise. But as we got there, well, maybe we were just in a range of a few hundred yards from where we were supposed to meet the combat demolition people and take them to shore and then just go through the exercise. But then we heard the terrific explosions. But it's dark, you know, it's night, you don't really know what's going on. So then the word got back to us that you can't go any further, that's as close as you're going to get, because, of course, we wondered what this was all about, you know, hearing this terrific explosions. It wasn't good, it wasn't a good sign, that's for sure. But we never really got an explanation of what that was all about, except that we knew that something had happened. And surprisingly, this was kept top secret because a month before the invasion, and they weren't going to put that on the news or broadcast and say, hey, you know, this happened or that happened. So they had us turn around and go back to Teignmouth, England, back to our base. And it's hard to believe, but for 50 years, I wondered what that was all about, see, until I finally saw it in an article and on television.
Right.
That what had happened is the Germans torpedoed two of those transport ships, the LSTs. Two of them went down, and you know they're built great big open inside because it carries, you know, so many things, troops and equipment. And gee, I guess they probably went down just really fast, and one was damaged and two went down. And wouldn't you know it, that my high school friend, my best friend, was on that one LST. I found out later that he was coming off watch and he was dressed, and he was one of the survivors. And I read later that what had happened is that we lost 749 soldiers and sailors in training exercise off the coast of England, which the facts didn't come out until 50 years later that had happened. So.
So once you were called back from the training exercise, what was the next occurrence?
Then it was just a month to go before the invasion.
Did you have any inkling about the invasion? Did they let you know what you're going to be doing?
They let us know that we were definitely going to be the first wave.
Okay.
And we were going to carry 12 combat demolition people. It was 6 of them were Navy and 6 were Army. So we knew what was coming up.
Mm-hmm. Did they give you any idea about what you might expect in terms of the defenses of the Germans?
Yes, they told you it was going to be
really tough.
It was going to be a real tough,
Yeah. Now, did you have any idea of the scope of this invasion? Because we know now today how big it was.
Right, yeah.
You're just this small little part of it. So did you have any idea how big this thing was? Okay.
Not until the actual picture came into view.
When you actually,
and it's really hard to describe because it was so immense. It was so immense. But we were based in. The first wave was actually we were based in England, just our own outfit, and the combat demolition team we were supposed to meet them in the beach area.
Now let's go through the actual logistics of you're on land, right?
Yeah, we're based on the coast of England.
Okay. Now on. Let's see, the day before D-Day, the actual day before D-Day, you were supposed to be, that was supposed to be D-Day.
D-Day was actually June the 5th.
Okay, so describe June the 5th for us. Tell us what happened.
June the 5th, we had our engines running, we had our orders. They said June the 5th that is D-Day, you know, we're going June the 5th. So we were actually warming up our engines and ready to go, but the weather at that time, there's kind of a storm was brewing, and the channel, and kind of like Lake Michigan when you have a kind of storm. It was bad. I mean, it was really, really rough. So just before we left the dock to actually cross the channel, we got word from Eisenhower and the top command that we're not going this morning. June the 5th is out. That the conditions were just too rough, too rough. So they said, well, we're going to postpone it a day. We'll try June the 6th. See, well, June the 6th rolled around, and the weather was still. It was a little bit better, but not much.
Yeah.
But the prediction was for the weather to get better later in the day, which was probably a good thing for all of us.
Let me go back just for a moment, the 5th. There had to be some kind of build-up within yourself that this is it, okay, this is it. And your guys, obviously, you're all a tight group now. You've trained together.
Yes.
And then you find out it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen, yeah.
What was your reaction to that?
Yeah. Me, I took it as being part of the things that happen that you can't really foresee, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, so I accepted that, you know, and think, well, not today, then tomorrow,
yeah.
you know, we'll see what it brings, yeah.
Okay. So June the 6th, tell us, I want detail, please, of you got up in the morning.
Got up in the morning, yeah. Had our orders, and this was the morning of June the 6th. And of course, we have to cross the channel, so we have to be up hours earlier to be able to cross that channel. And being rough like it is, you know, time-wise, you don't know exactly. So we start out early enough, and that was quite a ride.
Now, it's still dark, right?
It's dark, yeah. This was night, yeah. This was
so
dark.
From land, you're getting onto your landing craft, or you get onto a ship first?
No.
Okay.
We had our landing craft.
Okay.
That we took across. So we.
All right. So now you're heading in towards the channel. Could you see anything on the shore?
No.
Dark.
No, dark.
It's
Yeah.
just dark.
Dark.
So all that you're hearing is the sound of the weather,
Sound of
the
weather,
waves.
the waves. Yeah.
You're bouncing along, and you
Bouncing
just
along,
move
right.
forward. Were there other boats, other crafts on either side of you?
Just our outfit, our whole outfit,
Which is how many?
was probably a dozen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got a dozen or so of these crafts all moving
Crossing the
forward.
channel, to be in the
So
first wave.
did you have people on board yet, or is it just your crews?
No, just a cruise.
Okay,
just
so
a cruise.
let's go further now. What were you supposed to be doing?
We had
A rendezvous, right?
Rendezvous. We
Okay.
had to locate. We knew the information of the ship number, where we had to go. Of course, that's easy to say, but when you get there, and you see all these ships and the battleships and the rocket ships and everything that's assembled there, you think, wow, this is just unbelievable. See, but fortunately, we were in the area where with maps and designated areas, so we found our way all right and managed to.
So you found the ship that you're supposed to
we
find.
located the ship.
Now, had the battle begun yet? Was there shooting going on yet?
They were blasting the beach with everything they had,
Okay,
as far
okay.
as the battleships.
Were you getting return fire?
Yes, but we were out far
You were
enough.
far enough out,
Yeah,
okay.
we were far enough out, so there was no effect on us.
So I'm
at
trying to
the
picture
time.
this now. It's at night, still at night, or it's getting
Yeah.
towards dawn, but
Yeah, it's getting towards dawn. Yeah.
you're seeing these flashes of
Yes.
huge firepower
You bet.
and explosions and sound, but it's still, you're in the distance. You're still not, you can see it,
Yeah. Right.
but you're not quite there yet.
Right. Yeah.
All right, so now you load the guys onto your,
Yeah.
did they come down those little rope
They
ladder?
come down the rope ladders.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes,
All
and
right.
it was still the weather's still rough, because
Yeah.
you're bouncing and up and down. That's quite a job just for these soldiers and sailors to get down into the boat without falling in the water or
Yeah.
falling off the
Well,
rope
Harold
ladder.
Falkema told me that he actually saw guys just literally fall
Yeah,
right
sure.
in between and
Oh,
fall
sure.
right into the water.
Yeah.
So you guys didn't have that problem, though. You got all your guys
We
on.
got all our guys on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. All right, so now we've got a group of Navy and Army demolition people. There's this huge firefight going off in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
And you start heading towards it?
Well, yeah. First of all, we actually lined up, not too far from the beach, but we still didn't pick up any fire. But we lined up, and then 6:30, and of course our coxswain, the John Minnick, he looked at his watch. He says, Hank, he says it's 6:30. And we looked up and down the line. You could see the LCMs all lined up
yeah.
and ready to go. And when that hit 6:30, why we headed for the beach. Yeah.
Nobody, as of yet, had reached the beach, right?
No.
The
no.
only thing that was going on is battleships and return fire. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So now you're heading in this group towards the beach.
Yes.
It's still rocky and
Yes.
cold.
Oh,
and
yes. Yes, it is. Yeah.
What
Yeah,
happened next?
Yeah, see, the combat demolition team, you talk about brave people. Every veteran's a brave person, in my book. No matter what you do, or you're special. But these combat demolition people, can you picture 12 soldiers and sailors, and all they have is actually explosives on themselves, explosives and markers. Because their job is, when we hit that beach, to get off, blow up these obstacles, angle irons, barbed wire, and whatever's in their way. And of course, there's mines. Everything is mines. See, to this day, to me, it just unbelievable when you talk about courage, that you would have people like these combat demolition people that get off that boat, and actually not firing to protect themselves. I think it's just actually there to do a job that's almost impossible to do, and get off that boat and do what these people had to do. It's just hard to believe.
So you're now moving into the fire area. This is
Yes.
So
yeah.
did
Well,
you
yes,
start to see
Yeah,
shells?
they're drawing a. You being the first wave, well, naturally they're setting their sights right on you, you know. And one of the tough things was the bombers. They wanted to really bomb that beach heavy because it was so overcast and cloudy that they didn't dare drop bombs in fear of, you know, people like us coming in. See, so they couldn't do that. See, and the battleships, I guess, they did some damage, but those bunkers, I saw them later. They were so fortified and so thick and that you just could not get at them to stop them. See, so they had a beat on you coming in.
Hank, I know this is really difficult, but try and give me an idea of what you were actually seeing on both sides. I mean, you're obviously concentrating on your job,
right? Yeah.
But what was going on around you with the other landing crafts?
Probably the same as for us, because by that time, of course, the shells and the bullets and the machine guns and that they're going full blast to get you wiped out. That's for sure. See, so we hit the beach, managed to hit it square, because like I say, the waves and that were so rough and that probably as far as being the biggest asset for us, being fortunate enough to go through what we did, was that we had the two engines. That LCM had two gray marine diesel engines, and with that boat, at least you got a chance to take a square to the beach and then hold it there. See, so
you hit the beach.
We hit the beach.
What happens?
Our combat demolition people start to get off. Meanwhile, you know, I think a shell knocked one of our machine guns off, blew it off our boat, and things like that. And of course, you're looking to see what you can do to do the right thing, you know, to help wherever you can. And so then I watched the combat demolition guys go out to do whatever they could do their job. And I was on the back, stern of the boat, and I looked up. And meanwhile, you got infantry. We're there for a while. So, evidently, the infantry is right close behind us with a single engine boats. Mm-hmm. So I looked off to the side, and here I see two sailors, and their boat must have tipped over, got swamped, shoved sideways, and they were thrown in the water. So these two sailors, they run for their life. They run for whatever they thought that it might help them. They run for our boat. See, so, and I still remember, even though it's 60 years, I still remember these two young sailors running for our boat, and I would say maybe a yard from them, the machine gun bullets were hitting the water. That's still vivid in my mind.
So as they're running, the track of machine gun bullets is following them, just
right.
boom, 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 like that. Let's go back, though, for a moment. I realize this is not easy for you. When you landed, you had a good landing. The
dropped a ramp.
Mm-hmm. Demolition team starts scrambling out. What happened to them?
Well, I was going to say that these sailors were coming. I pulled them, helped them into the boat.
So the demolition team had already left?
No, they were
still there.
They were in a process. They were still in the process. We were there for a while. They were still in the process of exiting our boat, and must be the infantry was close behind us. You know, I was amazed to see that they were right there too, right behind us. And these two sailors, about the same time these things are happening, so I pulled them into the boat and got them down into the bottom of the well of the boat, so it'd be a little bit safer rather than being up on the top deck. So as we got them down in there where it was a little bit safer, well, the combat demolition team was pretty well off the boat. And once you know, there was evidently a shell. There were shells flying everywhere. I just kind of glanced and looked. There was the big explosion. It was right in front of our boat. I thought it hit the ramp. I mean, to me, you couldn't tell. I thought oh, geez, it hit the ramp. You know, the ramp is gone, or there's no way that you could get it to close anyway. So about that time, I had kind of a letdown. I thought, well, this is it. You know, we're not getting off this beach. But then the coxswain, and John Minnick, he said, I'm going to try to get the ramp up. He said, but before I do, he said, Hank, he says, there's a combat demolition soldier that's laying on the ramp. So evidently, when the shell hit, the concussion, he was hurt. See, so he was laying there, not moving. So.
But he was the only survivor. The rest of them were.
The rest of them were off on the beach, and I hate to think of, you know, even I don't know, and I don't want to even guess. But all I know is they were out there doing their job. But the one soldier was laying on our ramp. So John says to me, Hank, we got to get him off the ramp. You know, bring him back in the boat, which I did. You know, got him back in the boat and cradled him in my arms.
Yeah. Just like something to drink. Take your time, Hank.
And I held him in my arms. And the ramp did come up, and we managed to get him and those two sailors to a hospital ship. And then the picture of all the terrible things that were going on around you, you know, it kind of stayed with me.
Sure. So on your return trip back with the two sailors and the wounded demolition guy, the waves of soldiers are now coming in, right?
They're all
so
coming
you're actually
in.
Watching the invasion sort of from the other
Yes,
direction.
right, yeah.
And I mean, we've seen images and movies and whatnot, but it's still impossible to fully grasp how loud this was and you're still rocking around, right?
Yes,
still.
right.
So you got back and turned these guys over to the hospital ship.
Yeah.
All right, and they were able to take care of them.
Yeah.
What did you need to do next? Where did you guys go? Did you go back to England?
No.
Oh.
We stayed in the area. One of the tough things for us was that the officer, we had an officer in charge of our outfit, but he evidently he didn't make it, you know, because well, I think out of the I found out later, out of the 12 boats, probably just two boats made it. Our boat made it, and there was another one in our outfit that made it, because we were servicing on the water for 2 weeks, and then we didn't know who survived or what boat survived, because you were busy with everything that was going on. But we had to hit the beach because he said a big storm was coming up. You know, I mean a big one, like a big one in 40 or 50 years. It was a bad one. Now, luckily, the invasion wasn't postponed a couple of weeks for a low tide again, because that would have been a disaster if the timing was such that. So that was fortunate that, as bad as it was, what was done at that time. But we hit the beach. This was like after 2 weeks of being involved in the invasion, and then alongside of us this other boat, which we didn't even know or were aware of that survived or who survived, but they pulled up alongside of us and hit the beach. So there was two boats that were there, and then that storm hit. See? And it was so bad that some of the LCIs that carried infantry in that, they were tied up. They hit the beach behind us. And when that storm was done, it threw us up on the beach so far, we could never get off again. We could never get off the beach. So, and then, of course, we more or less lived on the boat there. And the Army guys we'd get K rations and things, because that was 2 weeks, and it was still, everything was moving at a fast clip with tanks, infantry, and, because that was really a critical time.
Now, before you hit the beach the second time, you said that what were you actually doing? I mean, when you went back after the hospital ship, what were you doing over the next couple of weeks?
Just whatever the coxswain decided that we should be able to do.
Like what?
Like carrying personnel between different stations, and then if officers had anything that they wanted you to do, well, then they would have you do that. So being on the water, open to whatever the coxswains figured that we could do that to help things along. Yeah.
But you're out of danger at this point.
Out of danger,
right?
yeah, right. Yeah, we're back.
Okay, so you're ferrying people back and forth between ships and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is the battle still going on the beach?
Yes.
So you're still hearing it. You're still seeing it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
By this time, you grasp how big this whole thing was, because it's all around you now.
Yes. Yes.
And it just boggles my mind to even think of how huge this is. You look off there and things are happening all around you, just everywhere.
Yeah.
Flashes of light, explosions, sound. But by this time when you're ferrying, though, there's no shells coming in or machine gun bullets or anything like that.
No,
okay.
no.
All right. Okay.
Not,
all right.
Not the area that we were.
Where did you sleep at night during that period?
On their boat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for 2 weeks, you're literally...
First 2 weeks, you could go to some of these ships that were anchored, and a lot of them were large ships that they sunk. They made a harbor. They actually, what they did is hauled a lot of old ships, battleships and liberty ships and that, and actually formed a breaker wall and made sort of a harbor. And then they had big steel tanks, floatable ones, that they had set up so they could actually bring these LSTs up to a certain point, and then the tanks and that, they could just roll off the ship right onto these what they built for these tanks to transport them, until maybe when that storm hit, well, then that pretty well ruined everything. See, because it was so severe.
So when you finally hit the beach the second time, the beach had been secured.
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah. The beach had been secured. Yeah, that was like two weeks into the invasion. Yeah.
So Harold Falkema, we know, is way up on the hill over there by now, and Sefton's way out in there somewhere.
Yeah, right.
But the scope of equipment and men hitting that beach is still going on, right?
Still going on.
So you're seeing all this just waves and waves and waves.
And waves. Yeah.
Gosh,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks hanging out on the boat, storm pretty much puts you out of commission.
Right. Yeah.
Where do you go next?
Well, next 2 weeks we actually stayed on the boat or close to it, because the beach was still mined pretty heavy, because they were so busy with getting troops and that they didn't have time to comb the beach over. So it was foolish to get out and get onto the beach. See, I mean, so we stayed close to the boat and just picked up K rations and things as the army went by. But then after 2 weeks, we were there like a month, 2 weeks on the boat, and of course nobody in England that was in touch with that first wave knew what had happened. They had no way of knowing. And they probably assumed, like maybe I would, that nobody survived. Nobody in the first wave survived.
In this day and age of communications where almost everything is instant. It's
right.
important, I think. It's important that you're talking about London being a long ways away, and you got people like Ralph Hounstein in there trying to figure out what happened.
Right.
And it's so easy for 12
Yeah.
of these craft to be lost in all of this onslaught of
Yeah, right.
tanks
Yeah,
and people and everything.
yeah. Like
So
I
here
said,
you guys
our
are.
officer was gone, see, so
Yeah.
he would have probably handled it a certain way, but we were just kind of, you're on your own. I mean, the 5 of us are
Waiting for orders.
waiting for orders, but we're on our own, see.
So when did the orders come, or did they?
Well, it came when the Army major stopped by the boat, you know, and I guess we're in there, and he says, hey, he says, how long you guys been here? Well, since June the 6th, you know. You know, not the first 2 weeks, but the last 2 weeks we've been right here. So then we give them the information as to who we were and what we were doing, you know, and give them the story on it. He says, guys, we got to get you guys home or moving somewhere. So he said, we can't leave you here. So he got in touch with the Navy. He says, he told whoever it was, and you know, and the Navy, he says, hey, you got 10 sailors here that, you know, about ready to move on.
Because we were talking about the two landing crafts.
The
The
two
only
landing
surviving
craft,
ones
yeah.
are right there.
The
Okay.
two landing
Which
craft.
you have pictures of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So he finally says, "Hey, guess what?"
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So they did send people, send a boat over and picked all of us up, and back to England we went, and then we ended up going right back to Europe because we followed the British Army through Holland, Belgium, and up into northern Germany.
Let's not jump ahead too quickly.
Yeah.
Were you debriefed at all? Did they ask you what happened to you? No, they just brought you back to the
They
ship.
brought you back? No, your next orders are here and here and here. Yeah, no.
Now, you're jumping into to all Holland and all that, but how did you get from the boat that you were brought back to from the beach? Where did you get? Did you get on another landing craft?
Yeah, well, they put us on a ship that, because quite a few of us then, see, it wasn't just our crew and that, it was actually a mixture of, or a group of sailors that had all different ratings, you know, different fields that they were in, that they needed. They set it up because you were going to open up a base in Bremerhaven, Germany. So then they reorganized people that they felt they could use. And
So you're part of this kind of hodgepodge of sailors and different types of talents and different types of ranks and whatnot.
Right, yeah.
Did you run into any of your fellow, the guys that were in the 12? No.
Never. No. Once we hit England, they said, well, where they went, you know, and I don't even think they went where I went, because they weren't anywhere near where I was. I was alone. I was by myself, and where they assigned me to, and the others, I have no idea, you know, what direction they went, or if they went to Europe or not.
So where did you go from there? You
to
yourself.
Holland.
Okay.
To
And
Holland.
how'd you get there?
They had a transport ship that they put us all on, and took us to Holland, and then we crossed Holland behind the British Army, and kind of slept in warehouses.
Now you're going by truck?
Yeah, now we're going by vehicle.
All right.
Yeah.
And you're in a truck with who?
All these sailors that I never saw before.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Just kind of on your own again.
Did you know what you're supposed to be doing?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what did they tell you?
They said we're going to follow the British Army, and we're going to end up in either Bremen or Bremerhaven, Germany, and set up that port, which will be the American port for our forces.
All right. So you're part of a team that's preparing for the Americans to come in there and use that port to then go further into, eventually into Germany.
Yes.
What was your job specifically?
To get involved with engines, anything to do with engines. That was my classification. So they assigned me to any
Did you have
of
a
work.
shop?
Yeah, they had shop set up.
And
we didn't get a chance to do that much there because I don't think we were there that long.
okay.
Before they come out with orders that you got to move on to the next phase.
And what was the next phase?
The next phase is be reassigned to the Pacific Theater. But before I went to the Pacific Theater, I had a chance to go home for...
Okay, I don't want to get too far ahead again. So you're in Europe. Now, did VE Day happen while you were there? Is that what we're referring to now? Not yet?
Not yet, no, not yet.
Okay. So you got a chance to go back home before the defeat of the Germans?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Had you been communicating at all with your father or with family?
No, not really. Not that much.
Okay.
No, just maybe a letter once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, you couldn't tell him exactly what you're doing anyways.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So you arrived back home. You went to your dad's?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep,
Were
yep.
other members of the family there too?
Brothers were, some of them
Still
were
out?
in the
Yeah,
service.
still in the service, yeah.
Still in the service, yeah.
What was the reaction of your dad to see you there in uniform and alive and no marks on you and no,
Yeah.
you got both arms, you got both
Yeah,
legs?
right, yeah, I was fortunate
Yeah.
when you look back at it. But he was happy to see me, and of course, like I say, he was probably the greatest father that you could possibly have. I guess.
Did you tell him what happened?
Not really, not really.
He knew, of course, that you're part of the D-Day invasion.
Right, yeah.
So he would have at least an inkling
Yeah,
of
right,
what
yeah.
you're...
Him being a soldier, yeah, he would understand. Yeah, so...
Hank, he must have been pretty proud of you.
I did the best I could, yeah, that's...
It's always good to have
So...
your father recognize that.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, like I say, he was special,
Yeah.
he was special.
Yeah. So you spent how long in Grand Rapids?
A month. I had a month's leave, but I had my orders that to report to California.
Okay. Now, the month that you were here, did you pay attention to the news? Did you keep track of what was going on in the war?
Oh, yes, yeah.
So you knew we were winning?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did VE Day happen while you were on leave, or did it happen after you got...
No, I believe while I was on leave.
Okay.
Because my orders changed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because then I thought, well, I got to go to California, and the next move is the Pacific.
It's going to be the Pacific.
And yeah, then that's right. The A bomb, the atom bomb went off.
Where were
my
you?
orders were changed.
Where were you when the bomb was dropped?
I was home. I was home on leave.
Okay.
Yeah, home on leave.
So now, not only does the bomb get dropped, but also the war is over with.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is going to sound like a really stupid question, but what was your reaction to that?
Of course, happiness. Sad at the way it had to go to end it, but happy for everyone that maybe finally it's over.
Yeah. Was there any kind of celebration? I mean, you see that in the newsreels in this, New York City, the sailor bending the girl over and kissing. Was there anything like that going on where you were?
Not so much that.
Just a sense of relief, maybe.
Just a sense of relief.
Okay.
Right, just a sense of relief, yeah.
It's finally over with.
It's finally over with, yeah.
So what were your orders from there then? What happened?
I went on a patrol craft in the Caribbean. So I was assigned to that because they had to decommission the ship, so I was on duty there for South America and Puerto Rico. So we decommissioned the ship and came back to Norfolk, Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and I could have gotten out of the Navy. My time was up. I could have gotten out, but...
What did you decide to do?
I decided to reenlist for 2 more years. Don't ask me why, But I love the Navy, And...
So when you reenlisted, did you get a rank? Did you rise in rank?
I was yes, a second class motor machinist. So I guess what appealed to me was that I could get a choice of duty. They wanted people, because a lot of them were leaving the service.
Oh, sure,
and they said,
yeah.
well, we need people in the service. So they said, for reenlistment, and I was single. I thought, oh, gee, why not? Give the country a couple of years and get squared away for jobs and things like
Smart.
that.
So that's actually pretty smart.
I mean,
yeah.
So I thought, well, I felt good about it, and I was sure that's what I wanted to do. I was on my own, and nobody depended on me. If you were married, a lot of the friends I had in the Navy. Some of the ones that were in those crews that I was associated with, they had family too. See, I mean, that was real tragic. So I had just myself to look after. So I said, well, I'll re-enlist for 2 more years. I had a chance to get my choice of duty. So
what'd you choose?
I went back to Germany, back to the base, Bremerhaven. I went back to Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what happened there?
There I was stationed. I wasn't too happy with being stationed aboard that base. But I thought, well, I got 2 years to go, so, and they had people stationed in Europe, Navy people. I thought, gee, maybe I could be helpful being assigned, doing something else rather than the training, everything. You go through that for 3 years, you don't need that anymore on a naval base. But for a while I was, they transferred me to the Europa. That was that German liner, like the Queen Mary, the Queen Elizabeth.
Okay,
That was that German super liner. Oh, beautiful, beautiful thing. So I was a motor machinist, so I was assigned to that ship. But that was being transferred to France for war reparations. But I was aboard that ship. I asked the lieutenant, I said, give me some duty, like, being on a ship or something. So I was aboard that ship. But he said they're looking for a replacement in Vienna, Austria, to be with a naval captain. Now, Austria sounds funny, middle of Europe, not much water around Austria. So he said, you might have a chance to get assigned to being with this Navy captain. I said, gee, that would be great. That would be great. I said, I'll keep that in mind. So I was aboard the Europa, and this was like a day before we sailed to France. And I get a call from this lieutenant. He says, you got a chance you can go down to Austria to be with that captain. I said, gee, that's great. That sounds good. So, but I couldn't leave the ship before I got a replacement. See, well, it's the afternoon of the sailing, and I can't get off the ship much as I'd want to. Catch a plane to go to Austria. I thought, well, if I go aboard that ship, they'll put somebody else in my place, which is one of those things that happen. So the afternoon of the sailing, well, here comes a sailor in a jeep with his gear. Of course, I holler down to him, are you replacing somebody by chance, He says, yeah, and he hollers my name, Of course, I really got excited about that, so I run down the gangplank and made sure he wouldn't miss the boat. got him aboard the ship, and I left, and that afternoon I caught a plane and I went down and served the rest of my time with this naval captain, and that was like a naval disarmament commission that all the 4 powers had down there. They'd go into Austrian factories and stuff. They're just looking for things that might help our country, and checking for disarmament. See, so then I was just part of that crew. That just he and I. He was a naval captain, and I was his right hand man. Do everything he wanted me to do. So.
We're going to need to wind this down a little bit, but there's a couple of really important questions. One being, something happened there that changed your life. You met somebody.
Yes. I met my wife, my future wife. And she worked for General Mark Clark. She worked for the Army. And I lived with the Army because I was the only Navy guy outside of this Navy captain, so I lived with the Army. And I'll tell you, greatest bunch of guys in the world. I have so many fond memories of that. And I'll give you one example. You couldn't get anything to drink as far as hard liquor and stuff like that. But the Navy captain, he had a ration, that he could get, see, once a month, and he wasn't a heavy drinker or anything. So he'd maybe take a bottle or something or other, and he'd say to me, "Well, that's all I need." He says, "Hank," he says, "you're welcome to the rest of it." I wasn't a drinker, as far as to me, it didn't mean anything. But for me to take all those bottles that I could get and take them down into the day room where the soldiers were all gathered and lay it on a table, you could make a fortune just selling this stuff. But I wouldn't make a nickel or a penny off a veteran. I mean, no way. So I would take whatever I could get and set it on a table for all my veteran soldier friends to enjoy themselves, which they did. So that's one of the fond memories that I have of myself. And I took a lot of ribbing, being the only Navy guy, of course, but they all had friends, family, people they knew in the Navy, so I know it was all just good-natured fun. So, but my pleasure was to see these fellas, and not that I'm condoning, hey, you should drink, but really, under the circumstances, it was fun. It was fun to see that.
Yeah, Hank, this question is a little more difficult, I think. How do you think your military experience shaped the person that you are today?
There's no doubt that it makes you a better person, more tolerant, and you're with so many different people, that if you don't learn from that, then there's something wrong. There's something wrong because you can't help but be tolerant and kind of look at the picture of life and people and things around you just differently or the proper way, which I think is to be tolerant.
In the whole scheme of things, World War II, of course, was a huge endeavor. D-Day by itself was a huge endeavor. And each person, I think, is important to that whole picture. Where do you fit into all of that?
Well, I was just such a small part of it, but yet I was a part of the great big picture, which makes me happy that even as small as a part could be, it all makes that big puzzle or that big picture, and it makes me feel good inside. When I come home and I see people in the park and children on swings and laughing, people in the mall, which spells out what? Freedom. Yeah, that's got to be a reward. That's all you can ask for, a reward to be able to see what that little part did, and maybe helping make this big happy picture.
Well, I for one want to thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
This has been great. This has been great.